Okay, so this is now my fourth video in my series of doing valve clearance checks on a Triumph Thunderbird 1600. Last video I did a recap of what I went through to actually get to change the shims. Now the shims have changed. I've reset the valve timing and I've just put the alternator rotor back on, and I'm just now in the position, I'm just going to put this outer case on and then put the cam cover back on, and hopefully we're there. So what have I done? First and foremost, change the shims. You have to have it says in the manual, mix up a 50-50 mix of molybdenum grease and fresh engine oil to coat the inside of the ladder bearings, and you can see it's just a bit there. So I've done that. I put the ladder back on, torqued it down. First torquing is 5 Newton meters. The second torque is up to 10 Newton meters. Once you've done that, you then set your valve timing, and you do that by I've got some pictures, but you've got two little pips. You can see one there and you can see one just there on the camshaft ladder, and there are marks on the cam shafts themselves which you align. Obviously I've rotated this engine so you can't see them now, but just show you some photographs that I've done. And what I did was, good old digital cameras or phones, I did a before and I did an after. So before, this is the exhaust, and this is the inlet, and then after, again, this is the exhaust and this is the inlet. So as far as I'm concerned, everything is set back to where it was. So that's the valve timing set. When you do that, you have to make sure the tension on the back run of the chain that's where the tension needs to be. So that there needs to be tight, and then you adjust the exhaust valve timing to pull the rest of it into position. Once you've done that, the cam chain tensioner goes back in. Now when it comes out, it'll be in this it'll be like this, extended, and what you do, you see here on the side there's a little spring arrangement, a little clip. If you press that together with one set of fingers, you hold it between thumb and, if you hold it between thumb and finger, you can do that by pressing the two springs here, the little clip. It allows you to push this in. Once you've pushed this in, this little clip here drops over the pip here, and then obviously under tension it holds itself in the closed position. This is actually shown upside down because when it goes into the engine, that's 180 degrees. There's an oil feed hole here which is at the bottom, and on the front of the casting there is actually a little arrow pointing upwards. Replace the O-rings. You put that back in, pop it in, and then you just, obviously this ladder is not there, the top piece is not there. Press down hard on the springs and it allows, press down hard on the chain, and that allows then this just to kick back, and this little clip drops off and allows the tensioner to come forward, and you'll see it take up the slack on the chain. So once you've done that, you go back down to this area here, you pull your locking pin out, and then you rotate the engine. You rotate the engine anti-clockwise from this side, and it says in the manual you do it 4 times. Well, I did it 4 times, and it wasn't. It was nowhere near. So basically, you've got a lot going on, because it's a very small window to see the hole that your locking pin needs to go in. But essentially what you're trying to do is rotate the engine so you can get the locking pin back in, and then you check to make sure that your valve timing is still where it should be. Now, I have had this has not been easy. The first time I did it, when it came back up to the first time I put the pin in, the cams were 180 degree out. So I did it again, and the same thing. So the second time, for me, the first time the hole comes round, the valves, the cams are 180 degree out. The second time it comes round, they're bang on. So I fiddled about with it, did it again, came round 180 degree. I adjusted them so that the first time this hole came round, I adjusted them again so they were bang on, and all it did was move it on to the next sequence. So where it says 4 rotations in the manual, I don't think that's right. I spoke to the mechanic at my local Triumph dealer as well, and he said, yeah, I don't think it's right either. So essentially, I've put the pin back in, it's back on its timing marks, so it's set. And I'm now in a position where I've got the rotor back on, I've got the alternator back on. But what I did do was I actually used my puller to get the rotor back on, because it's the magnetism on it is so strong, it pulls it all over the place. So what I did was I wound that in, and then I lined it on the end of the crank and just slowly wound it back out, just to keep the rotor stable and centered, and it seemed to work. Pair of gloves, don't get your hands around the back of it. Yeah, seemed to work. Got it aligned. Obviously there's a little Woodruff key on there. I'm just going to make sure it's all aligned on that properly. You can see the mark here. That's where the keyway is. So I brought the crank to the top, so I'd got a feel for where it was. Put it back on. Put the centre bolt in. Torqued it back up to 165 Newton meters, using the tool to hold the rotor in position. Taking it up to 165 Newton meters on your own is not easy. There was a bit of a strain. So that's on, and I'm actually now in a position where, well, I've just got to put this outer case on, put a new gasket on. I've had this bracket here is actually holding there's two sets of grommets, one for the pickup wire and one for the alternator cables. I put new silicone sealer on the back of those and just held them in place with that bracket there. That'll come off. Put the outer case back on with a new gasket. Then I need to put the cam cover back on, and I've got a new gasket for that, which will need some silicone in here. So that's where I am at this moment in time. I'm going to crack on and get that done, and then again, if anything interesting comes up, I'll bring you back in. Cheerio for now.